for Monday, April 1st. Roll call.
Mayor Calvin.
Here.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Here.
Meske.
Here.
Swantis.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Alvarado.
Here.
Osmus.
Here.
Plowman.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
9 present, 0 absent.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any proposed additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda as submitted. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Consent items, Ms. Thompson.
On tonight's consent agenda, we have the City Council minutes of March 18th, Willmar Municipal Utilities Board minutes of March 25th, Accounts Payable Report March 15 through March 28. For Council's acceptance, the Willmar Police Commission minutes of March 4th, Human Rights Commission minutes of February 12th, Central Community Transit Operations Board minutes of February 26th, the Willmar Lakes Area CVB Board meeting minutes of February 19th. For Council's information, the Invest in Willmar Board meeting summary of March 13th and the City Hall Task Force meeting summary of March 21st.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent items as presented. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Next, we have the presentation of the 2020 census kickoff. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, today marks the 1 year out from Census Day 2020. The State Demographer's Office held an official kickoff event at 10 a.m. this morning at the state capitol, and I'd like to share some information tonight regarding the census. The first census was conducted in 1790 when George Washington was the president. The census occurs every 10 years, with the next census being conducted in 2020. The official census day will be April 1st, 2020. The purpose of the census is to conduct a count of population and housing and disseminate the results to the President, the states, and the American people. The goal of the 2020 census is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. The census is about power, money, and data. An accurate census helps ensure fair representation at all levels of the government. The primary constitutional purpose for the decennial census is to determine how many congressional representatives each state will have for the next decade and to ensure equal representation in the redistricting process. Currently, Minnesota has 8 congressional seats. And Minnesota is projected to lose 1 seat in 2020 if our numbers don't meet the threshold. Political representation at the state level is also based on census counts. The census counts guide the distribution of dollars. $600 billion federal dollars are distributed to state and local governments each year on the basis of census data. At least $1,532 per person is allocated by the federal government to Minnesota each year. That's $15,320 for the decade per person. So for example, if you have a family of 4 that is missed in the count, that would result in a loss of $61,280 over the decade for your community. So it is very important that we try to account for everyone. The federal government and the state distribute money on the basis of the census. For federal examples, it helps fund our Medicaid, our highway planning and construction, SNAP, Medicare Part B, and Section 8 housing. For state examples, our local government aid, our community education funding, small cities development grants, and trunk highway fund. And how the census data is used, it's used extensively at all levels of government as well as the private sector. Some examples are the federal government uses population data to allocate funds in a number of areas, such as the Title I grants to educational agencies, your school districts across the nation, Head Start programs, women, infants, and children, the WIC food grants, public transportation, road rehabilitation and construction, programs for the elderly, emergency food and shelter empowerment zones. The census data help potential homeowners research property values, median income, and other demographic information about a particular community. Corporations use the population data for market research to determine locations for commercial enterprises, such as food stores, pharmacies, and other essential services. Planning for hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, and the location of other health services. Directing funds for services for people in poverty, designing facilities for people with disabilities, the elderly, or children, planning for public transportation services, directing services to children and adults with limited English language proficiency, and determining areas eligible for housing assistance and rehabilitation loans. Answering the census is safe. The law protects your answers. By law, the Census Bureau cannot share your answers with the IRS, FBI, welfare, immigration, or any other government agency. No court of law, not even the President of the United States, can find out your answers. And the same law that keeps your answers out of the hands of these agencies prevents the Census Bureau from selling or giving away your address to people who want to send you mail. Complete count committees are established by county and local governments, community leaders, and volunteers to increase the awareness about the 2020 census and to motivate residents in their communities to fill out and return their census forms. I'm pleased to inform you that Willmar was the first city in Minnesota to set up a complete count committee. Our committee consists of 19 members from various organizations throughout Willmar. I've already held 2 meetings, and we are planning to meet quarterly throughout 2019. At present, subcommittees are being established, and if anyone is interested in volunteering to serve on a subcommittee, please contact me and I will forward your name to the appropriate committee. And just a little bit about the timeline. From 2018 to mid-2019 was a capacity building phase. April of 2019 to January 2020 is a promotion phase. And February to May 2020 is the action phase. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And tonight I'd like the council to consider approving a resolution adopting the creation of 2020 City of Willmar Complete Count Committee, which was included in your packet.
I'll move to introduce that resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve a resolution for the 2020 Census Kickoff Complete Count Committee. Discussion. Councilmember Schwantes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, congratulations on being the first city to have created your Complete Count Committee. Do I have that right? Complete
Yes.
Count Committee, yes.
Thank you.
And with $61,000 at stake for a family of 4, just to reiterate how important that is. And do we have our diverse residents included in that committee?
Yes, we do. Actually, the committee consists of like I said, 19 people. Of the committee, we have the president of the Chamber of Commerce, a representative from the public school system, representative from the college, 5 members of the Somali population, which include the executive director of the Community Integration Center, president of the West Central Interpreting and Consulting Services, Human Rights Commission member and Somali bilingual outreach worker, and the producer of a Somali TV show broadcast on our local access channel. 1 member of the Hispanic population who works for the Southwest Initiative Foundation, a member of the League of Women Voters, a reporter for our local newspaper, and staff members of the city, which are the city planner, IT coordinator, engineering GIS tech, who has a connection with the Karen population, administrative assistant, and a part-time assistant, and myself. And then 2 gals from the county, Kenai County office have joined us too, because we're going to work together between the city and the county.
Fantastic. Thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Metzger.
Thank you. I'm just curious on data. I think I've seen data before of what they think % of people that have responded in the past were. Does Minnesota, if these are successful, and I know Candioi counties will be, but if across the state, will Minnesota, do you think, have enough population to not lose a seat?
If enough people fill out their census, we will not lose a seat.
Good news.
We have the population there, but we have to have the numbers to prove that. But we definitely do. It's just, what our response will be. And that's the goal statewide, to try to get as many people to reply. They are doing a new thing next year. The census won't only just be in the mail. You can also fill it out online, and the online and then through the paper, through the census. Mhm.
Additional comments, questions? Okay, Councilmember Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So looking at your timeline, it looks like February 2020 to May 2020, that's when the paperwork is going to get mailed, or you do it online, that's when you actually complete the census?
Actually, about mid-March, they'll be mailing out the paper forms, and also their goal is to have the online available as well at that time. And my goal is to have several locations throughout the city set up with computers, and several people of our committee, our main committee, and also the subcommittees have some of us available at each of those sites to help people complete those if they have questions.
Yeah, this is a really big deal. The citizens of Willmar and the Candioi County, this is a big deal. We have to get this done. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Additional comments? Ms. Thompson, do you know what our percentage of response was last year? What our estimated, or 10 years ago? Because we were one of the lower cities, correct?
No, we weren't the lowest, but I know they talked about it way at the beginning. Was it 79%?
I think I've read that somewhere, 79 to 82, somewhere in that little range.
Yeah,
So we could definitely improve, and so.
we definitely, there is definite room for improvement.
And I know that the state demographer has said that we have over 20,000 people in Willmar now, but we have to wait till the census to confirm that.
Correct.
So that's another reason that it's really important that everybody makes sure and gets counted, because, I mean, if we're using the numbers that Councilmember Metzger said in the 80% range, low 80s, if we get that up to 100%, that would be very, very, very helpful. So thank you for the
And
work
like I
that you've
said,
done.
that it does, affect the programs that are available in our community for our citizens. So, and also for local government aid.
Sounds good. I'll allow you to get back to your workstation.
Thank you. Try to find back your agenda here.
Casey got questions.
On the resolution that we passed, we need to do a roll call.
Correct, we haven't done that. I was waiting for you to get
Ready?
back to your.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Meske.
Aye.
Schwantes.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Alvarado.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Thank you again for the work that you're doing on that, Ms. Thompson. Next, we have the Finance Committee report. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Calvin. The Finance Committee met at 5:15 on Thursday, March 21st at City Hall. In addition to the committee members, Finance Director Steve Okens, Park and Recs Director Rob Bumgard, and West Central Tribune reporter Shelby Linrood was in attendance. We had no public comments, and we have multiple items recommended action for the council tonight. The first item is regards to the municipal state aid revocation and designation. Staff explained, I think we had talked about it at the previous meeting too, and this is one of the first items to come before us, asking us to take a look at redesignating some mileage that is there. We had a discussion regarding that, and afterwards there was a motion and a second to introduce a resolution that actually revokes 28th Street Southwest from Trott Avenue to Highway 12, Airport Drive from Highway 20 or from 23rd Street to Trott Avenue, and Arena Drive from Transportation Road to Civic Center Drive, and adding the designation of Civic Center Drive through Technology Drive to County Road 9 and Trott Avenue Southwest from 28th Street Southwest to County Road 5 for municipal state aid. And that map is included in the packet for your review. I will enter that motion at this time.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve changes to the municipal state aid routes within the city. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Meske.
Aye.
Schwantes.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Alvarado.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye. Aye.
Plowman.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. The next item is to establish fees, permits, license, and rental fees. We reviewed the information that was brought forward from, let's see, this is actually through the various departments throughout the city. And after reviewing it, and that is also attached for your information, it was recommended, and there was a motion and second to bring this forward tonight. And I will enter that motion to adopt the 2019 fee schedule as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the resolution supporting the fee schedule for permits, license, and rental fees as presented. Discussion. I have a question. I was contacted by a number of people in regards to the gun range. And my understanding is that our staff had recommended it going to $8 for a half hour. Is that correct, Bob? And I see here we're leaving it at $10. I know that we've had a substantial decrease in the amount of people that have been using the gun range. And I think it would be worth just us dropping that rate if staff would agree to that, simply to see if we could get those numbers back up. We know we're never going to pay for that, and it's never going to be a cash cow, if you will. But at the end of the day, if we could get more people down there, we have a lot of gun enthusiasts here in Willmar, and I think that would be a small change that we could make to try to help them out. We made substantial changes a number of years ago, and I think at one time, weren't we at $4? And so there's been a substantial increase over the last 3 years. So if you'd like to address that.
Well, yeah, actually, a long time ago, it was like $2.50 for a half an hour
Okay.
when I first started. So when the increase came, it was after my time at Community Ed and Rec. I had conversations with Jim Anderson and Dave Stewart about it. I said, we need to gather all the information before we can do any type of fee adjustments until we knew all the numbers that came in. So I asked them to collect it after this season, and the season will end here in April. So we can collect that information and give you guys more data from there.
But I mean, if we adopt this tonight, then it's going to be good for another year. So if we get the data at the end of April, I mean, then we're going to wait another year. So I mean, would you be opposed to going to $8 now to just try it?
To get more people there, it might be a possibility to lower it. They want it even lower than that, but I don't think.
I know they want it lower than that.
So we can definitely try it. I have no problem with that.
Councilmember Nelson?
This was reviewed by your board, correct?
Correct.
Before you brought it to us.
Correct.
I think there were also, you were requested to review the budget for the total. I'm not quite sure what the right suggestion is there, because we are losing money on that, and I think have been all along. So did you have that discussion at your board regarding that particular fee?
No, we didn't.
Councilmember Plowman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question regarding that. Do we have specific reason to believe, because nobody's reached out to me, but maybe other council members, do we have specific reason to believe that the reason for decreased usage is specifically attributable to the increase in pricing?
Well, that's what, I mean, when we raised the prices, they told us that would happen. And I think anecdotally, without staff being prepared, I mean, I was just contacted on this today, so I didn't make a call to staff, but anecdotally, you would say that would be true. But, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, why can't we try it just for a year? And, I mean, he'll have the data, unless you want to come back and adjust it after he has the data at the end of the next month. But, I mean, I was talking to Councilmember Fagley before the meeting started. We used to do these in January so that people could plan their budgets, because a lot of your nonprofits, I mean, I got calls from that too, that people that are nonprofits, I mean, they look at the schedule and what it's going to cost for the next year. Well, Rob didn't have a chance to put this all together. Holy buckets, we only hired him in September?
Yeah.
And so he didn't have a chance to put it together, so it's not a dig on him. But, I think this is just one area where we could make a slight adjustment and show that we're listening to our constituents. And so it's all anecdotal at this point.
Sure. I guess maybe the what would get to the root of my question is more than just like, say, supply, demand, or whether or not we were at the right price point. If there had been any discussions or whatnot that, hey, beyond this price, we are unilaterally as a group, we are going to not use it. You know what I'm saying? And if there was a particular price point that was a threshold that would come with some sort of backed information that would lead us to believe that there would be increased usage, or if this would be a measure that would attempt to gain that back, measure of good faith, I guess.
Just an idea.
Sure.
Councilmember Nick?
Well, the same thing. Have you collected data about the usage now at this $10 range?
Yeah, we got data about how much income is coming in. So we get that every week from the gun range people. I get it on Wednesday and Friday, then we deposit it. So, and then I talked to Jim and to Dave at the end of the season. We got to talk about certain other things that I found out about the gun range as far as posting rules and have more clarification on cleanup and everything like that after rentals are done.
So, I mean, we can use your information now that you're here. You're the baseline of what we gathered this year. And I wouldn't be opposed to changing the rate to $8 and then watch what happens going forward. If it doesn't recover, then we know that that's not the piece. So I'd move to amend it from $10 to $8.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to amend the one line item that would change the open range fee from $10 per half hour to $8 per half hour. Discussion on the amendment. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when they have open shooting, do we provide a range master then?
Yep, the gun range, that's part of the agreement that we've had with them for several years, that they supply the staff for the gun range. We supply the staff for the building.
So we pay them then, or
No, it's a volunteer.
volunteer? Okay,
Yep.
because if you rent it by the hour,
Then,
it's $80 plus a range master unless they have one.
yep, and that was a conversation that when we talked a little bit about it at the board meeting, of that piece of it is to have those gun masters employees of the cities, instead of just having us call them up and say, hey, can you come and work it on, and then they pay them separately, they become city employees then.
Yeah.
for rentals.
How many stations are there? Is it
There's
8?
10.
There is 10.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I mean,
Councilmember Nelson.
Not opposed to doing the amendment, and I will ask the question afterwards, but can you then bring us information once you've closed out the year with?
Yes.
So that we could see the figures on that and why you were recommending the $10
Yep.
with that at that time?
Yep, will do.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think it's probably a good measure. Maybe not so much in terms of dollars and cents, because we know, going back to the original issue of the range, we know that is not a moneymaker for the city. It was more, the original project was about the restoration of that space and the usability of that space. We know we're not going to make money, but I think it would be important to, if we do push this through, just make it notable that this is a gesture of good faith on behalf of the city, the council, and staff, that we do appreciate the gun community and we appreciate their usage of our facilities, and we hope that that message would also be met and reciprocated on.
Additional discussion. All those in favor of the amendment as motioned and seconded signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, we have a resolution approving fees and schedules, permits, license, and rental with the passed amendment. Additional discussion, Councilmember Nelson.
Yes, I was going to ask Mr. Baumgart, since the gun range has already expressed a concern, have these fees been communicated to other, do we have other concerns regarding these fees from other groups?
The only fee that has gone up for ice rental, I've contacted all the ice user groups and they have no problem with the $5 increase.
So the rest of them are staying the same?
Except for the pool passes, they've gone up $5 as well. Like the family passes, the group of 2, group of 3, group of 4, they all went up $5 from last year.
And we had a discussion at the Finance Committee meeting about the pool and making sure that people were aware of scholarships that are available for that. Do you want to just speak to that?
Yep, that will be in our brochure, that there will be scholarships available for all of our programs, and if there needs to be assistance for pool passes as well.
Okay, thank you.
Additional discussion to the resolution. Roll call.
Councilmember Schwantes?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Alvarado?
Aye.
Osmus? Aye. Plowman?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
Maskey?
aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes. Next, we have consideration of an application for Otto Bremer Foundation grant for bike share program. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. Staff presented to us a request from the Parks and Recs Department to apply for an Otto Bremer Foundation grant to receive dollars to be used by the Willmar Bike Share and Cycling Without Age programs. And there was information there on both of those programs. And there is a request for us to go ahead and apply for this grant. If awarded, the city and Bethesda could receive up to $50,000 of funds to promote and market bike share program. And so I will enter that motion to make that recommendation to apply for the grant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to apply for a grant for the Otto Bremer Foundation for a grant for bike share programs from the city of Willmar. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Alvarado?
Aye.
Osmus? Aye. Plowman?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Fagerly?
Aye.
Maskey?
Aye.
Schwantes?
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 nays.
That resolution passes as well. Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. That's the last of the action items that we had. We received informational items. The document is enclosed regarding the 2008 Rice Trust activity and balances. That is, there is no action that is needed to be taken on that. And I don't know if there are any questions on that. Right, hearing none, I'll go on to the next one. We received information. Steve Okens, our finance director, has been working on what the effective date of the local option sales tax would be if it is approved at the legislature. That information will continue to be developed according to the dates when that approval would take place. The comment that Mr. Okins made is following the protocol that needs to happen both with the city council and at the state. The earliest, if the bill is passed in the regular session timeframe, the earliest that the tax could be started would be October 1st, 2019. And Mr. Okins is continuing to work on that and will be brought back to the Finance Committee meeting at our next meeting, I believe, again also. Any questions on that? The next was to review just our meeting schedule information. We have been asking for items that we'll be addressing in the future. Those are listed in the minutes, and that is the last item. I don't know if anyone has any question on any of the items listed. Hearing none, that is the end of our minutes, and I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion has been made and second to file the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Next, we have the Labor Relations Committee. Councilmember Maskey.
Labor Relations met on March 25th. The minutes are included in your packet. In addition to myself, Councilmembers Alvarado, Davis, and Schwantes were present. We have 3 items to come before you this evening. In addition, we did have a couple information items that I think I'll start with, and that was the employee personnel policy. The employee personnel policy is currently a very large 3-ring binder with lots of very large policies, and our HR director is in the process of reviewing those policies in a format that's much more user-friendly for our employees and frankly for the council members that are looking at them. What we're planning to do is take a look at those in small pieces, and so we got a first set of these policies that we're taking a look at, and so instead of doing the entire book at one time, we decided that we're going to do it in pieces, so expect in the future to have a small set of policies coming from that personnel policy booklet to be taken a look at and approving in the future or modifying as you see fit. We also did start a discussion on a sick leave donation policy as well. That is a modification of how many hours and some flexibility of donating sick hours, and it changes on how much an employee can donate, and we're working on that one as well. So expect the Labor Committee to be very policy driven in the very near future. Any questions on those 2 items first? Yes.
Councilman Nelson.
Thank you. I noticed that the attachments were with the Labor Committee meeting agenda, but they are not attached to these minutes. So when you were with the actual policy pages you were asking us to review aren't attached to these minutes.
Oh, we haven't even reviewed them ourselves. We are doing that for our next meeting. So once we look at them, then I will put them
Okay.
on there for you to
All
look
right.
at too.
Thank you.
All right, items for you to consider this evening. Part-time employee pay schedule. You should have had that. Is it okay, Samantha, if I do it, or do you want to do it? All right, I can handle it, I think. You have a list of the pay scales for part-time salaries from 2018. The modification is on 2019. And you can see when you take a look, there was an addition step put on there, as well as the ranges that were given in 2018 have been modified to where there is a single rate on the new pay scale, but these have not been modified for a while. And as you look through them, they were also streamlined, so it makes the process much more simplified. And so I'll ask if HR Director would like to add some things to it, but if there is not, that recommendation would be to adopt that 2019 part-time employee pay scale, and I would introduce that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the part-time pay schedule. Discussion from the council. Councilmember Osmus.
At what point do you take off positions that we no longer have anybody in them, or do they just stay on in case we ever decide to reenact that position?
Ms. Beckman?
I have taken off the ones that we haven't had anyone in that position for at least a few years. But it is flexible. If they're hired back again next year, they can be added back in. But these were ones I went over with the department heads and supervisors, and they were the ones that they said could be discontinued.
And as you look at those, if you take a look, the biggest changes were actually in election judges. It might be worth saying, we were not very competitive with townships in the county, and so they had a hard time getting folks to do those jobs. So those have been the biggest modification. We're in those areas to try to get more folks to want to come and be election judges. I won't tell you which townships were big, but some of them pay really well. So we will not be at the top of that scale, but hopefully we'll be competitive.
Additional discussion? All in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Councilmember Meske.
The next item we have for your consideration was regards to our city administrator. As you are aware, the city administrator gave us his 90-day notice that he will be leaving Willmar, and we wish him well and we will miss him. We do have, however, the sitting out, we have to deal with the fact that we did have we had the review sitting out there to address. It was believed by the Labor Committee that is coming up pretty quick, and we didn't think that we probably needed to continue with that process. So it was the recommendation as the Labor Committee that we forego the administrator evaluation and then wish Mr. Holland well. So I would introduce that motion as well.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to not carry out City Administrator Holland's review and due to the fact that he has resigned and is going to be moving back to Colorado. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry.
The last item on the agenda, or on our your minutes, was the recommendation for Planning and Development Director position. We asked the HR Director to bring that directly to the full council. So.
All right, the interview, excuse me, the interview panel consisted of Administrator Holland, Councilmember Davis, Aaron Bachman, and myself. And we did interview 3 candidates over the 13th and 14th of March. And we had a great group. There were great options and some experience to review. The interview committee as a whole did rate David Ramstad as the best candidate for the position based on his experience and his education and his interview score with the panel. I have verified all of his previous employers and checked references and conducted a background check, and everything came back completely clear. Just a little background on Dave. He does have a PhD in public policy and administration and has been an appraiser with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the past 8 years. And prior to that, he did serve as a department head in Valley City, North Dakota, in their Planning and Development Department for 5 years before that. And he's very excited to join the team at Willmar. It is a recommendation of the interview panel also that the council does need to recommend David Ramstad for hire for the Planning and Development Director position.
I'd offer that motion.
A second.
Motion made and seconded to hire David Ramstad
Yep.
as our new Planning and Development Director for the city of Willmar. Sounds like he's coming with very great credentials. So, discussion from the council. I will just make a couple comments now because I'm not going to make them later. Thank you for the work that you've did. This was not an easy position to fill. You worked very diligently to make that happen. Very appreciative of the committee who did the interviewing. Mr. Holland, you have hit home runs on every hire you've made, and so we're expecting the same this time as well. So you do a great job in your screening process, and it's the staff that you have that helps make that happen. So thank you very much. So with that, I'll entertain a motion. I'll call the question of approving Mr. Ramstad as our new Planning and Development Services Director. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you, Ms. Beckman. Councilmember Meske.
Yep, one of the last items on, you will be aware on next week, April 8th, you should receive notification of a special meeting to talk about Next steps as far as our city administrator process, the search process, that agenda should be coming out shortly. You'll see in the minutes that the HR director has been looking at a couple of recruitment firms, and she'll have information about that. We'll also be looking at the job description and talking about scope on the next meeting, that special meeting next Monday. What the time is? 7:15.
7:15 next week, we have a special meeting. Just for the committee, I did have a conversation. I was contacted by Bruce Miles, who is someone that the council has worked with in the past, and he would be interested in having a conversation if you were so inclined to entertain a conversation with him. But I'll just throw that name out there for you.
Okay,
to
perfect.
consider.
All right, very good. And so you'll get, like I said, we'll get an agenda out for that special meeting, but we're hoping to have that. In addition, we will have our regular labor meeting as well. So, but we will only be talking about the situation with our city administrator future hire at that time.
I'd just like to know if all the council members can be there on the 8th. I think it would be good. I wasn't aware of it until I read the information, and so I'm just curious whether all the council members are going to be able to attend that special meeting.
I believe Councilmember Alvarado said he was unable to attend. I didn't hear from anybody else. Are you able to attend?
Yes, but I just felt it's important that we have the council members there, and it wasn't I didn't know about it until.
Councilmember Alvarado expressed that he couldn't be there, and he has shared his concerns. He's the vice chair of labor, so we have actually worked quite a bit on this issue, putting that agenda together. So I know where he's at.
I just didn't know if the other members were aware of it, so I wanted to make sure that we had as many people there as possible.
Well, that's what we have for labor, so I would move to the approval of those minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to file the minutes from the Labor Committee of March 25th. Discussion. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On our new community development director, when is he planning on starting?
The planning?
April 15th.
April 15th, okay. Do you know, is he planning on moving here, or he's going to be here during the week and gone on weekends, or?
He will commute in the beginning, and then he will eventually move here. But we didn't, give him like 3 months or anything like that. He has some children in school, but he commutes right now to the city, so it's, natural for him to do that. So we'll work with him.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Additional discussion. All in favor of filing the minutes for the Labor Committee for March 25th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Next, we have city administrator comments.
Just a brief comment. I know it's a couple months before I leave, but, I did receive a lot of nice emails and phone calls and comments from people. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, and especially those that offered their prayers for me and my family, and I appreciate that. And we'll be moving back to Colorado, and we had some good friends here in Willmar, and we will be back. And like I told somebody, and hopefully my daughter will be graduating in 2 years, and I know we'll definitely be back for that. So I know it's a little premature, but again, thank you.
Thank you. Under mayor's comments, which is the next item, first off, I want to congratulate Mr. Holland for the work that you've done for the city. You and I had a conversation last week, and you came into some very troubling times in the city, and you've worked well, and we know that this is best for you and your family, and we support your family decision and to be with your family and going back to Colorado. So we do appreciate that. So thank you very much for the service that you've given to us. It has not gone unnoticed, so we do appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And then the other people that I really want to, this next message is for our department directors. There were a number of you that had the opportunity to leave the city, and that sunsetted this past weekend. And you guys are the ones that hold the city together. You are out there every day, you're beating the bush, you're taking the phone calls, you're getting the job done. And a number of you had tenure, and you had the opportunity to leave. When we passed this motion, we knew that it wouldn't be a popular motion with staff, but yet you saw that in the best interest of the city, this was the best thing to do. But more importantly, you're committed to the city and staying here. I did have a conversation earlier this evening with Councilmember Meske, and we are going to be looking at some things that we can do in the future to address some of our salary concerns. And I know that that will, I hope that that will be on an agenda item in a future labor committee. And I have shared that some of my thoughts on that with Councilmember Meske, and he has assured me that he'll carry that forward as the chair. The other thing is that our citizens, you know, we have gone through a really tough winter, and you know, you hung with us. We had some flooding, we had some problems, but our public works crews did great work. Really do appreciate the work that they did. Our emergency services, getting the job done, all of that. But our citizens of keeping your cool, if you will, and doing good work for the city. So we really do appreciate that. And then finally, the last group of people I'd like to thank today is the people that went down and testified on our local option sales tax. We had a group of people that went down to the legislature on Thursday. It was a very troubling day for them as they went down. They had a lot of things on their mind as they went to present to the Senate. And the presentation to the House is different than the presentation to the Senate. And I want to publicly thank Councilmember Nelson for attending in my stead and giving testimony on behalf of elected officials. But also, I've heard many reports back from people that were in attendance or observed that the factual information that our city finance director presented when he was asked by the Senate, and he had all the answers that he needed. We're back at the 30 million, and we're back with the 6 projects as of, I believe, today. I've got a text into Dave Baker. I was hoping to hear prior to this meeting that was approved. I have not gotten that, but I do know that there was an amendment that was introduced into the tax committee today, from my understanding. So good work by a lot of people in our community. And then the 42 people that have stepped up to serve on the local option sales tax committees. These are positions that are not fun. You've got tough decisions that have to be made. We all have an interest in doing things for the city and making the city better. And so just want to thank those people that have volunteered their services. For those of you that were not selected to serve as an official capacity on one of the committees, all of the committees are open to the public. Anybody can attend any of them that they want, any of the 6 committees and the steering committee. The steering committee meets every 2 weeks, and Councilmember Nelson, Councilmember Meske, and myself serve on that along with the city administrator and staff as the city administrator directs. So just want to thank everybody for the hard work that's happening. Great things are happening in Willmar. We've got a very bright future, and great things are happening. So with that, I will conclude my comments and start with, I believe, Councilmember Davis.
All right. I have a message tonight from Sarah Swedberg. She wants me to pass on information about Minnesota Main Street. They've chosen to host their annual Main Street Basic Workshop in Willmar this year. They will be at the African Development Center on Thursday, April 18th from 8:45 in the morning to 4 p.m. The first half of the day will be a presentation from Serena, our state coordinator, on Main Street Basics. It's a great opportunity to learn about the Main Street program. The second half of the day is a presentation from Michael, our community engagement coordinator, as well as a local panel to discuss the theme of diversity and inclusion. The cost is normally $70, but for everyone in Willmar, it's $10. We would love to have people all day, but if you're only able to make a portion of the event, that's just fine. Contact Sarah if that's the case. So thank you.
Thank you.
Could you please repeat those times?
Yep, it starts at 8:45 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m.
And that's on April 18th?
Yes, at the African Development Center.
Thank you.
Councilmember Alvarado?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to express my appreciation to the Invest in Willmar team. They've done a bang-up job bringing that from a seed to a plant that's in front of the Senate and the House right now. It's very exciting for our community, and I'm looking forward to their successes. The 2020 census, that's huge for our community, and I hope when you get that mailing or you go online, you complete it. It's going to just do not only great things for our community, but for the state of Minnesota. So I think that's exciting. Summer will come here. Summer will make it. And with that being said, we have to think about our grass clippings and keep them off the street and in our yards. And to, I guess Lowe's is saying, hey, those clippings act as fertilizers for our lawns. So if we can get in the habit of thinking about that now, that would be a good thing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Osmus?
Thank you. As the city council representative for the library, I just want to toot the horn again for their Wisdom and Wine event that will be coming up on June 13th. As of last week, they were just about all sold out of tickets. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, I would suggest you do so if they're not sold out. And also, starting today, the Friends of the Library started selling their raffle tickets. And the winner of that raffle, and there's some really great prizes, that will be drawn at the Wisdom and Wine event on June 13th. A lot of fun, exciting things. 3 great authors that are going to be at that event happening at the library.
Councilmember Plowman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, just a public thank you to Mr. Holland for your time here with the city. Best wishes and blessings towards your family, your future endeavors. It's been a pleasure working with you. This last week, the Airport Commission held a meeting, and I attended that. We discussed airport operations over the winter, and one thing that was particularly notable was, number one, it's really nice to have an FBO that knows what they're doing, and that's on top of things out there. That became very, very evident, especially over a winter where we have lots of snow and lots of weather events. And then also he pointed back towards Public Works and how great a job they did working together as kind of a machine, and comments that were made from professional pilots that fly for large corporations. Time and time again, they would call to see if the runway was even going to be open, and they were surprised to find out that we had a nice clear runway when they needed to get in the morning, and that bodes really well for our city, not only with the pilots, but word of that makes its way back to the C-listers in those corporations, so that reflects really well on our community. As far as the master planning process goes for the airport, good things going there. It's also nice and smooth. The contract that we have with Bolton and Mink, their aeronautics professional and engineer there always brings us good and timely information. There's going to be some construction going on, but he works together with the FBO and the contractor to kind of make for a seamless process. And it's so nice that these don't necessarily have to come back to us as problems that need fixing, but it's kind of like they have it set up as step A, step B, step C to keep all the users happy and to keep traffic disruptions to a minimum. So hats off to the Airport Commission, the FBO, and Public Works. Finally, I think most of us had our various lost committees this past week or two, and I was impressed at least with the committee that I was in, or the commission that I was in, by the attitudes of everybody involved. Everybody seemed to be on the very same page about how are we going to take these dollars and stretch them as far as we possibly can, maximize the potential benefit for the citizens of Willmar, and how is this program going to benefit anyone and everyone. And everybody's there with the same mindset, giving of their time and giving of the expertises that they have. And so I was quite impressed by my group, and I hope that is the same. I expect that's the same from all the groups. And I am done rambling now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. I just have to say it was an honor to testify at the Senate this week, and a special thank you to Steve Okens for going with, also Mary Swatsky and Matt Dawson. And a special thank you to Representative Baker also for the extra work that was put in. Mary Swatsky and Representative Baker did testify again on Friday morning with the information that the Invest in Willmar Committee had worked on. And the detail that was in that report and the detail that was in our resolution helped for the House to work through the questions they were having. There's a lot of issues around local option sales tax, so we aren't being singled out, and I think we'll see some changes coming through the legislature for that. But I did share with the mayor, I know he's been busy and in meetings, but Representative Baker did send out an email acknowledging that vote this morning that came in this afternoon. So I just want to say a thank you to our community for the engagement. We are a regional center, and this local option sales tax is going to help us to position us. We carried that message to both the House and the Senate, and I look forward to the Senate will not make a decision, I believe, until after Easter break, and so we have a little while to work through this yet, but I'm looking for positive results, and it was great that this was the reduction that had been proposed in the House has been changed back to our original proposal. So I thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Community Development will meet next Monday, the 8th, and it's going to be at 5:15 because the Labor will meet after, and then the special council meeting. And then we all got a yellow sheet. It's Board of Review coming up April 15th. The meeting will start at noon. We're supposed to be there at 11:15 if you want lunch, and you have to tell Judy, our city clerk, Ms. Thompson, if you're coming, and we need at least 5 people. And it'll be at City Hall. Thank you.
Councilmember Meske.
Oh my, there's a lot of stuff going on in this town. And thank you for the city employees that make that work, and particularly our department heads, and especially our city administrator, Ike Holland. And a special shout out to our HR director, Ms. Beckman. When I agreed to be the labor chair, I was told we were only going to meet a couple times because it's not a contractual year. And we've met every week, and our plate gets fuller and fuller. So I appreciate that. She'd be the only one that could manage that schedule, I think. So very appreciative because there's a lot of irons in the fire, and it's going to take that leadership to continue to keep them all straight. This council is meeting a lot in a lot of meetings. I mean, Mondays are pretty much from beginning to end. And kudos, it's coming out shortly, but even our City Hall location spot, we're going to look into that. That's getting very close. We're looking for public input on that. So there's going to be citizens are engaged beyond just the local option sales tax. There's going to be lots of opportunities for the citizens of Willmar to step up and help all these projects. There's a lot going on in this city right now, and I'm proud to call it my home.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwantes.
Amen. Proud to call it home. Love it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give a shout out for an energy workshop that we are going to be hosting on April 24th. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and runs till 9:30 in the morning. It'll be at the Mid-Central Research and Outreach Center, which is on the Midwest Technology Campus. I want to also recognize Sarah Swedberg in her efforts to help us create this workshop. And we are focusing on what individuals and businesses can do to reduce their energy costs. And there will be discussion about opportunities to address options for the loss of their district heat system. And there will be representatives there from the municipal utilities, Candy, Ojai County Co-op, Power Co-op, and also the CERTS team. And CERTS stands for Clean Energy Resource Team. So that's April 24th from 8 till 9:30 at the Mid-Central Research and Outreach Center, and it is free. And that is a thank you to Main Street for helping to organize that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. I forgot about this, but we did discuss it at the Airport Commission. This year, the State Airport Conference is being held, and it's actually being held in Willmar. It's being held at the conference center in Willmar, and it's well attended, and there are aeronautics professionals, and there are individuals from the FAA there, and there are people with MnDOT aeronautics there, and it is very educational, and they have a lot of good information to share regarding municipalities, airports, how airports provide and add to communities in ways much, much larger than what the general public is even aware. If you have interest in attending, you can contact Janelle and/or contact Eric out at the airport. That weekend is the 24th through the 26th, and there are rates for attending, and I think they can get you the information on what those specific rates are. But it is cool. Usually it's in a metropolitan area or a larger community. We were able to lock that down here in Willmar for a weekend, so that's really cool. It will be well attended. Like I said, a lot of industry professionals and people that know their stuff. So if you're interested, I would say go for it. I do believe I will be attending myself.
Okay, thank you for that information. Anything else to come before the council? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded, we are adjourned.
Question, that meeting on April 8th at 7:15, where is that?